Okay, so we are taking a look at how genes are inherited. You have already watched the video from University of Utah. So now we're just going to go through and sort of examine what we learned. So the first thing says find, label, and color the genes. So here I'm going to, this is going to be gene 1. And there we go. There's my color for gene 1. And we'll swap over and do gene 2, which is here. And there's my color for gene 2. And you get the idea. Okay, so now we've labeled them gene 1, 2, and 3, and we've colored them in. The next step, step 2 here, is asking, well, first off, what's going on? So let's take a look. You can see that the genes are now duplicating here. So you can see I now have 2 copies of gene 1. So what's happening? Pretty obvious. The genes are duplicating. Okay, so your genes are being copied for that step. And then we find and label, color the copies, which we have done. Then it's asking us to what's happening at the next step. So we've colored in our genes, and now we're down to here, and we're back to coloring and labeling for a second. All right, so what is happening in this step? So we've got genes 1, 2, and 3. So we go back to the last step where they were all inside the same organism, and now they're inside 2 organisms that are identical. So it says describe these organisms in terms of similarities and differences. Copy 1 and copy 2. These are exactly the same. So what you can see is that in asexual reproduction, which is what we're talking about here, asexual reproduction, one individual becomes 2 identical individuals. So you end up with 1 parent and identical offspring. Okay, so now we're going to talk about sexual reproduction. The first thing it says to do is to label the genes. Now, in sexual reproduction, each individual has 1 gene from mom and 1 gene from dad. So we're going to actually, rather than trying to use patterns like it says, because it's a very small drawing, I'm actually just going to use the colors again. But I'm going to make a different pattern for the one they got from mom and the one they got from dad. So I'm just going to separate them by color. You can see is that the mom and dad, they kind of split to make the reproductive cells. And so you get sort of a chance of, in gene 1, maybe they get 1 of those, but they don't necessarily get the same one each time. Okay, so now you can see there's an assortment of genes, and they have separated. So they're getting one into the next reproductive. Okay, so now you can see that these are going to recombine into the offspring. So notice what you're going to get here is gene 3 over here is this guy right there. And so he comes down, and that's going to match up with gene 3 from the other parent, which is the red squiggles, and these are both gene 3. See that there is an obvious recombination of the genes. So if we go back over here, it's asking what's happening in this step here. Then when we come here, and they then recombine. And it says describe the offspring in terms of similarities and differences in their genes and the traits that they will grow to have. So notice the idea here is that your offspring is a blend.